Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Chiriquí in Panama. Panama is a very long, narrow country, and we're kind of in a corner that doesn't get talked about as much. Since the canal is over there, the Darien Gap is over there, we're over on this side of the country that you don't hear a lot about. We already covered Bocas del Toro, which is a really fascinating place. We're on the other side of it here in Chiriquí. Chiriquí, as you can see, borders Costa Rica right here and shares a lot of the geography coming through this area here. Very thickly forested with big, beautiful cloud forest, rainforest, things like that. Wonderful wildlife, lots of coffee grown here. Very similar landscape in like this half of the province. We can find right here Volcán Barú. You can see Volcán Barú National Park. This is the highest point in Panama. It's a great big old volcano. It's really gorgeous. Of course, we'll take a look at it on Google Earth. We can see the capital of the province right here is called David. I'm sure it's David here, but whenever I researched it, people were just calling it David, so I'll call it David. And it is named after David from the Bible. Down here, you can see the Gulf of Chiriquí, this whole area here. You can see the Gulf of Chiriquí National Marine Park out here with lots and lots of islands out here as well, being part of the province. And this long coastline that has lots of beaches, and in these inland areas you can see lots of mangroves and swampy areas there along the coast, which is part of the Pacific Ocean. Panama borders the Pacific and technically the Atlantic in terms of the Caribbean. So we're on the Pacific side tonight. I think that's about it for geography that I've got for you. We'll of course look at a lot more on Google Earth because it's so beautiful here. But let's talk history because there's a very unique site here in Chiriquí that I want to talk about. The earliest culture that lived here would have moved in about 4600 BCE, establishing various cultures throughout, eventually farming cultures and little communities. The best one that we know about is called Barriles, which is located about here or so. It's not labeled. Barriles would have been occupied between the years 300 and 900 CE before it was abandoned. There are almost definitely many other little towns and civilizations in this area, but there was an eruption at some point on Volcán Barú in pre-Columbian times, meaning before European contact, so we're not quite sure about the date. But we do know that it happened sometime before the Spanish arrived. And that eruption destroyed many sites that would have existed around the volcano. So sadly, a lot of them are lost. So having Barriles is very precious to Panama and the world too, isn't it? The Spanish would arrive here in the year 1519. David would be founded in 1602. And like I said, it's mostly just farming communities and such. Nowadays, mostly for coffee. There's one interesting story about this region that involves the Americans. The Americans weirdly interested in Panama at this time. Obviously, they wanted to build a canal, but that's a story for that part of the country, not this part of the country. In 1862, there was a plan to build a new city or even country over here called Lincolnia, after Abraham Lincoln. it would have been a secondary Liberia, which is over that way in Africa. Liberia, if you don't know, was established by enslaved people who were freed in the United States. Non-black people did not want them around, so they booted them back to Africa. They were born in the U.S. to create their own culture, their own country, essentially. And it did work in terms that it's still around today and flourishing, and their descendants are still around running Liberia. But they thought, well, if that worked so well, let's do another. So the capital of Liberia is Monrovia, after James Monroe. So they thought, let's make another one called Lincolnia, after Abraham Lincoln. And the plan was to build it here, and the Panamanians were like, no, we live here. We would like you to not try to establish a new country within Panama. Not to mention, this was still part of Colombia at the time, wasn't it? I didn't even realize that in my research. Panama had not become independent by that time, had it? I don't think so. I think this was still part of Colombia. So I'm sure the Colombians were like, no, don't do that. And eventually the plan got scrapped. Not to mention, this was not long after William Wallace, who was just one of the most awful people in history. He attempted to just take over Central America and make it his own personal country. He was a character, let's put it that way, like in the worst way. He was a terrible, terrible man. And they did not want any other Americans interfering with their daily lives here in Central America. So they said, absolutely not. You will not send any Americans down here to live and create their own society. We don't care what color their skin is. We don't want any Americans meddling in our affairs, which Americans would very famously do in Panama's history well into the 20th century. But that is a story for another day. David, by the way, is the largest city in Panama outside of the canal area, which if I show you, you can see Panama City here. You can see the canal here. Colon is over here. So these are like the major city centers of Panama. So the biggest city outside of that area is David. Pretty neat, isn't it? So that is the history here of Chiriquí. There's a lot to see on the tablet, so why don't I hit the lights, grab my tablet, and we'll explore Chiriquí province on Google Earth. Let's go. Here we are in Chiriquí, which Google apparently does not want to show you, like highlighted, but you can see the borders. Can you see the dotted line there? You can see the border going through here. That is Chiriquí province we're talking about tonight. So let's zoom out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Panama is a very easy country to find on any map because you just look for North America, South America, and here's Central America, where it gets really narrow. That is Panama. That is called an isthmus. It's the most famous isthmus, in my opinion, where you have a narrow strip of land with two very large bodies of water on either side of it, usually oceans, but it can be any major body of water. Here's the Panama Canal, in the narrowest part of the isthmus. But tonight we are over here. Why don't we start at Volcán Barú? Look how big and menacing it is. It's a big old volcano, Volcán Barú. It's gorgeous. You can see its history etched in its sides here. Various flows that have occurred, creating all of these big grooves throughout. Let's take a look at Volcán Barú. It's pretty gorgeous. It's apparently a very popular climb. It looks like there's some radio towers and such up here, maybe some weather towers. Volcán Barú, Parque Nacional. Yeah, That looks stunning. And I'm sure the vegetation is all very rich and stuff because of that. Volcanic soil, little base camp there. Some beautiful twisty trees. Big menacing volcano in the distance. The highest point in Panama. You can't get any higher in Panama. And that's quite, oh my gosh. Wow, it's so resplendent. But yeah. Gorgeous, gorgeous Volcán Barú. I think when I was covering, if I remember, when I was covering Bocas del Toro, I was like, man, Volcán Barú's right there, and I wanted to look at it. And now we have, thankfully. So let me reorient. Wow, here we go. We can look near the town of Volcán. I believe it was near Volcán. To look for barriles. Here it is. So it doesn't look like much from above. You can see all the farmland and such around it. But look at some of these items that have been found. Amazing statues. This guy's getting a piggyback ride or something. He looks like he's really straining to hold that guy up. But yeah, all sorts of excavations have been dug up here. Lots of cool rocks. Pre-Columbian art. It says right there. Beautiful rock art. Looks like this was a petroglyph map. Look at that. Look at their jewelry. I assume that was jewelry. Maybe this is symbolic. Look at his cool hat. Little Peter Pan hat. But yeah, isn't that incredible? Carvings in the rock there. Beautiful spirals. Some pottery sherds there. Look at these trees. Look at all the pottery and stone tools as well. Hand axes and such. Looks like a history there of some of the items they found. Look at that. There's a little guy in a hole. Beautiful pitcher plant here. And lots of stuff about the things they found. Look at this. This guy's seen some things. Looks a little traumatized, but holding a little pot in his lap. A little mother and child there, it looks like. And this, I don't know what that was. Maybe some kind of tool for something. But it's certainly there. It's like a big old rock. So yeah, isn't it sad that there were more sites like this, but they're long gone, long buried under the earth, under volcanic residue. Very sad. But that's life near volcanoes, isn't it? We can't have Pompeii's everywhere. Yeah, you can see all of the various fincas, recreation sites. There's the birder's paradise. Let's look at the birder's paradise. Oh, that is a paradise. We can see little hummingbirds. Oh my goodness, look at the toucans. They're so cute. Oh my gosh, eating a papaya or something there. Gorgeous. Even birds of paradise, plants there with the little hummingbird. It's so cute. They had lots to see and do if you want to enjoy the nature of the interior, and then you come out here and you hit up the beaches. La playa. I almost said it in French. I almost did it again. La playa. Nice. That would be me. I love swimming in the ocean. Oh, that's like paradise to me. Sand and sea. Big crashing waves. It's the best. Lots of swampy around. Big ships heading to or from the canal. Gorgeous. And you can find these all over. All over. And you can see the big mangrove swamps. Looks like manglares in Spanish. I wonder if any of these have pictures. This one does. So you can see the thick vegetation here, but it looks like it's just this cool hangout site by the looks of these pictures. Let's see. Yeah, just lots of wet, thick vegetation around the shoreline. I mean, you can clearly see from above. It's all very swampy, isn't it? The little islands. That's the island of death, Isla de Muertos. What's that story? You don't just get called the island of death for nothing. There's a story there, isn't there? But yeah, we head out to the various islands out here. Not Coiba. We're not going out that far. But Parida has some interesting little lodges and camping here. There's some beaches on that little island. I assume that there's tons of hiking and outdoor recreation out here. There's trophy fishing over here. Let's see if anyone's got some trophy fish out here. Anyone? Oh my goodness. Ah, that's huge. Big old tuna by the looks of it. That is crazy. But yeah, not much to see out here in terms of Google Earth. Let's see if Isla Bolaños has anything. Oh my goodness, it's paradise. It is paradise. Look at this. It's like if you just close your eyes and pictured a beach. At least this is what I think of. I think of this kind of emerald green water and palm trees and sand. It's exactly what I think of. Oh, that would be me. That would be my face. Just, yes, this is the best. Yeah, that looks so inviting. Out here in the ocean. And sadly, there aren't too many pictures out here in the islands. The Islas Secas. Yeah, these aren't even, you can see an airstrip there, but Google Earth hasn't even taken high resolution pictures of these islands. Not much to see there. And how about out here? These look just like rocks. Yet they also don't have any high resolution photos of those islands. So I assume they're just rocks. Let's look at David. It doesn't look like much when, I say it's the largest city outside of the canal zone, but it is a very booming, thriving city. Let's see what we can find. What did I need to show you here in David? Not quite sure. Let's look at the main slideshow here. Look at these beautiful buildings. Kind of Art Deco style. And then, of course, colonial style as well. I love that white against these like vivid, bright colors. It looks like candy. But yeah, very typical town. Big fountains and plazas and shopping. I think that's a church actually. And churches and coffee. Everything. Even weird old water towers. And waterfalls. I'm sure there's lots of great places to set off on explorations here. Big empty mall by the looks of it here. Beautiful old churches. What was that? Oh, an amusement park by the looks of it. Here's the hot springs. I was reading about these. I was in this area looking all over, being like, where are the hot springs? I was reading that they're in this area, and then I finally found them. Thankfully, it only took me like a minute. There's the Boquete piece. We'll head to Boquete in a second. The hot springs here, because of course with all that volcanic activity, you're going to get some hot springs, and apparently they are divine. They are excellent hot springs. I bet they're stinky too. Lots of birds running around. Got turkeys and peacocks running around together. It must be so noisy. And goats too. The private property. Entries prohibited. You can't just walk up. And then look at the petroglyphs. That is spectacular. I wonder what these are supposed to be. Maybe trees? think. That's what it looks like to me with the roots down here. That's amazing. Who knows what it was supposed to be. Boquete up here is really the site. You can see it's on the other side of Volcán Barú here from the town of Volcán. Boquete is considered like the place to go if you're coming here to hike and have outdoor adventures. You stay in Boquete and have like your base camp here. You can see coffee farms down there. Bees and butterflies are happening up there. All kinds of trails. This town is like set for tourists. You can see all the hotels. I'm trying to get there we go, the name of the town to pop up so we can take a look. We've got rushing rivers, old churches, beautiful flowers. That must be where the bees and butterflies live. Old building here. Out here in the jungle. It's just a very gorgeous place. And there's the Volcán Barú National Park. I think I'm going to end this video on. I always encourage you to explore this area for yourself. There's a lot more beaches to see around here. And little farms as well that I didn't show you. You can check them out in your own time. I always encourage you to do so. Oh, there's a pretty cascada. Let's see real quick. Oh my gosh, that's right. I gotta show you that. Isn't that beautiful? But there's lots of other waterfalls in this area. Please poke around and see if you can find any for yourself. Gorgeous, gorgeous Panama. Just this corner of the world with Costa Rica and all that. Just stunning beauty everywhere. Everywhere. And I'm so glad that Costa Rica and Panama have really gone through multiple steps and processes to protect these areas and make them accessible and safe for the environment, so that they can be around for a long time for everyone to enjoy. But I'm going to end it here tonight at the top of Volcán Barú again. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. Next, we're going to be heading to a capital city. I wonder if you can guess what country's capital city it is. Looks like people are leaving their marks up here. I'll give you a hint that it is the only capital city, like country capital city, to have a wine industry within the city limits. That means growing the wine, making, storing, and selling the wine. Can you guess? Can you guess what city it is? Let me know your guesses down in the comments, and let me know all your thoughts down there too as well. And don't forget to like the video while you're down there. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good